Urban Development, Minister of External Affairs and other distinguished members of the head table, commanders of security forces, excellencies and other representatives of diplomatic missions, ladies and gentlemen. This is actually a very strange place to be in. I have never launched any books. Even though this is, I just counted, from what I can remember, this is the 10th book that I have written on this subject. All for free. I was just thinking, I mean, it's not just me, there are other people, like Shenali, who writes a lot. I was just thinking if there was an NGO that we belong to, we would have been very rich by now. That reminded me of something that I still remember, something that happened around in the year 2003. I was working at the Sunday Island at that time, and I used to go to the Divina, a sister paper in Sinhala, Divina office very often. And I saw Dr. Malinda Seneviratne there. So I told him in Sinhala, "Sir, Lipiyak denna dawe. Did you come to hand over an article?" And what he said was very sad. He said, "Nෑ Malinda, me ලිපියක් දෙන්න නෙමෙයි ආවේ. මට මේගොල්ලන්ට තේරෙන්නේ මට පොඩි ගාණක් මේගොල්ලන් දෙන්නේ. ඒක මට ලොකු ගාණක්. නමුත් ඒක මෙයාලට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ මට ලොකුයි කියලා. ඒකවත් හරි වෙලාවට දෙන්නේ නැහැ." He had lost his job at that time. What he was saying is that I didn't come to hand over an article. I came to ask for my payment. It's a very small amount that they pay me, but it's a big amount for me. He had lost his job at that time. And even that, they don't pay on time. I contrast that with the amounts of money that people who represent certain non-governmental organizations get as salaries, quite apart from other benefits, whatever they may be, to write what they write. They are doing politics, he is doing politics. They are in an ideological game, he is in an ideological game. Malinda Seneviratne's position emerged victorious. Why? That is something we need to think about. So, about this book, this 10th book that I have written, there are 2 more coming next 1 month. Right. Must be mentioned that what I did was write some lines. But if you look at this book and at the consider the design element, it was my good friend Lashan Malaka who did all that. He spent at least 2 weeks going through photographs, picking the right ones, setting it out, and all I had to do was to look at the PDF file and just type things in. So I want to recognize my good friend, colleague, and in many ways the co-author of this book, Lashan Malaka, colleague at the Nation. The title that I wanted to talk on is Out of the Cage, and that draws from Gordon Weiss's book, The Cage. About a week ago, a friend of mine sent me an email, or he made a comment on a Facebook post. All wars have to be fought twice, once in the battlefield and once down the alleyways of memory. That's a never-ending war, because certain things can die only with death. When everyone who's remotely associated with the war, they're all dead and gone. You can't remember your grandfather. My late grandmother, until the day she died, she was speaking about an ancestor, a person called Leuke, who was killed by the British. Right? And I'm still talking about it. When do we end that? We are fighting the battle down the alleyways of memory. We have to understand that. And we are all prisoners of our ideologies, our outcome preferences, and the lives we have led, the things that we have seen, and the gaze with which we have seen what we have been forced to see. It is natural. I was driving my father to the hospital just before I came here, And he came up with this very strange thing recently. He said, we should bring the PTA back. I said, no. And he was talking about what Mr. Gominda Asiri was saying about what the TNA is saying and doing. So and I told him, we were talking about our time down living in Vallavatta, Pamankada, 1983, how he kept about 17 Tamil people inside the house, and my mother asked, what if they come and attack us? They say that those who are harboring Tamils will also be attacked. And my father, I still remember, told my mother that question does not arise. They are neighbors. And my brother, then 18, and I and a couple of others, we put out fires in one house. But in those same houses that we saved from destruction, in the years that followed, there were people we knew who supported the LTT and who were harboring LTT people. Do we hate them for that? No, because people are not one-dimensional. You have to understand that their houses were burnt by people who were not like them, who spoke another language. That resentment, when does it die? That we have to understand. Speaking of the cage, there are people who told lies, and they have been forced to reiterate those lies. Right? Gordon Wise had to have a retirement option. He came up with a good retirement option. He's in good retirement out of the UN, right? He's making a lot of bucks. Malinda Seneviratne is not, right? I see Dr. Jehan Pereira here is a very honest person. I mean, he will never lie when you ask him a direct question. I asked him once, what would happen to your organization and how many people would you be able to get to a demonstration if your funding dried up? He told me, to be honest, Malinda, no one. That is the truth. Money moves things. But it is not only money that moves things, it's conviction. It's conviction. I am convinced that this was right. You show these pictures to citizens in America, United States of America, Canada, Britain. Just imagine if these were not Sri Lankans, Tamils, Sinhalese, Muslims who were killed. Imagine they were citizens of United States of America. Imagine they were British people. Imagine they were Canadians. You show these images there, they'll be calling out for the blood of the perpetrators. Without anything like that, they went to war against Iraq on a pretext, on a lie. That was a war crime. It was crimes against humanity. I don't know if anyone from Britain is here, but the Deputy Prime Minister of Britain, Nick Clegg, said the invasion of Iraq was illegal. That is confession. What is Navi Pillay doing about that? What is Navi Pillay doing about that? Where are the rapporteurs on this, that, and the other? Visiting these countries, calling for international investigations, independent. We know what independence means. They are in a bind. Gordon Wise is not the only one in a cage. Everyone who took a political position is in a cage. I'm in a cage. I'm in the cage called free education. I benefited for 20 years from free education. I have a debt to pay to the people who financed my education to the best of my knowledge and ability. I will never be able to repay my debts. That is my cage. Someone might say you're a nationalist. That's a cage too. I didn't earn one single cent for being a prisoner of this nation. But others, in their particular cages, they're very comfortable and they're earning a lot of money. These things we need to think about, I think. Thank you.